Good morning, you're watching KBC Channel 1. This is Good Morning Kenya and I'm Regina Manyara-Gitao. This morning we're talking about the education sector with something close to our hearts, the issue of school reopening. Quite a debate there. With me in studio is the Executive Director, Kenya Alliance for Advancement of Children, Timothy Ekesa. Good morning, Timmy.
Good morning.
Glad to have you on board.
Thank you.
And my other guests on the other side, at large. I'm joined by our guests this morning from different parts of the country. Maybe we can get to see them there. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How about we wave in the air? Hi. Good morning. How are you? Those are going to be glad we could have you on board. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Glad to have you on board. So those are our guests this morning, and we want to have a conclusive conversation of sorts to just find out how safe and address the issues of, school reopening. We've been home for over 50 days. That's time lost in the curriculum. What does this mean? To set the pace is that CUPET has called for the gradual reopening of schools, starting with candidates. At the same time, primary school heads want the school annual calendar revised. That is the KCPE and KCSE exams postponed. What's your take? Our question this morning is, what should schools reopen? Give your reservations or proponents of this idea and give us the reason why. Our Twitter handle is at KBC Channel 1 News, and my Twitter handle is at Ray Manyara. We have guests from all over parts of the country. So now we go to Ariana Masika from Mombasa, aged 9. Ariana, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine.
So great. Tell me which school you attend.
I'm in SOS Primary German School, and I live in Mombasa, and I'm in grade 3.
Wow, that is good. Grade 3, down there in Mombasa, SOS Primary. What do you think? Do you think schools should be opened?
Yes.
Ariana, you think schools? Why? Tell me. Have you missed school? Why do you think schools should be open?
Because I want to go back and learn in school, but not on phones and TVs.
So Ariana wants to go back to school because she doesn't want to learn through the television and online. So are you aware there's a disease, COVID-19? Are you aware of COVID-19?
Yes.
And are you safe? Do you feel you'll be safe in school once they open?
Yes, because I will tell the government to put some body sanitizers and hand wash and something and dry their hands and my hands too, and to be tested.
Very well. Thank you very much, Ariana. Thank you very much, Ariana, for that feedback. You want to go back to school. You want the government to put in, safety equipment, including sanitizers, so that you can be safe. Now let's go to Ray. Ray Amani. What do you have to say about that? Good morning, Ray.
Hi. Hi.
You well?
Morning.
Great. What do you think about the school reopening?
My name is Ray. I'm 11 years old and I go to SOS Haman Minor Primary School.
Very well. What do you think about the school reopening?
And in my opinion, I think that they should open till June.
Why do you want the schools to open in June? June is in 1 week away. Why do you want the schools to open in June?
Because so that they can have time to disinfect everywhere and time to have equipment to test us.
Very well. So you want the schools to open in June and the government to do the testing. So after the testing is done, what else do you think the government should do to make you feel safe in school? Roy?
They should put more hand sanitizers and hand wash.
Roy, and hand sanitizers and hand wash to make you feel safe. What about the issue of social distancing? I know you have missed your friends. You will want to hug them, shake hands, and playtime. Will you be able to handle that?
No, no.
So you'll not be able to stay away from your friends. Thank you very much.
Yes.
That is Roy, who is 11 years old, telling us that he wants the schools to open in June and the government to do some sanitizing. Then we are continue to asking you what you think about the debate about the school reopening. And in studio, I have my guest, that is Timothy Ekesa, Kenya Alliance for Advancement of Children. Now, before we get to hear what our guest in studio has to say, how about to cross over to Nakuru County? Quite a brigade there that we have. Vanessa Yegon, Nakuru County. Good morning. Good morning, Vanessa.
Good morning. My name is Vanessa Egon. I'm 11 years old from Kagaki School, Standard D6, Nakuru County.
Very well said. What do you think about the school reopening? When do you want? Should schools be opened?
I think they should reopen as soon as the government is ready. But I think it's going to be a challenge since in my school we are more than 1,000 pupils. So keeping the social distancing is going to be tricky. And for those in lower classes, they won't really understand the need to sanitize, social distancing, and not being able to play with each other.
Okay, social distancing will be tricky. Your school has over 1,000 pupils. When you say tricky, maybe you can explain what you mean tricky. Ama tuseme itakuwa tricky sana. Thank you. Thank you very much, Vanessa, there, saying that she wants the schools to be open, yes, but when the government is ready. And she said from her school, she has her fellow pupils, the population stands at around 1,000. So social distancing, as far as she's concerned, she's in class 6, she says, is going to be a tricky situation. That is Vanessa Yegon from Nakuru County. We have Masika, Joe and Mercy. Joy and Mercy.
We have Masika, Joe and Mercy. Joy and Mercy.
Morning. How are you, ladies? How are you? Looking good? Hi. Who do we start? Who do we start with? Do we start with Joy or Mercy? Pick one among.
Who do we start? Who do we start with? Do we start with Joy or Mercy? Pick one among.
Okay, well, you don't. Oh, yeah, social distancing.
Social
anyway,
distance.
you're within, you're within the same house. So kindly just reduce or rather turn down the volume of your television. We are having a bit of interference there. So kindly reduce the volume. Mercy and Joy there, who are trying to practice social distancing. And they're going to be coming back online to just give us their feedback in regard to the debate about the school reopening. Now, Timothy, as we wait for our participants, there Roy and Roy, who says he'll be open for the school to go Ray to go back to school in June. And we had Ariana there saying, yes, should want to go back to school, provided the government puts up, takes the precautions.
Yes.
But now let's talk about, the question is, do you think our schools, we are prepared enough, we are prepared to talk about school reopening?
No. I think the simple answer is no. Since the schools closed in March, I don't think, unless I've not had any process where schools are doing anything to either expand their schools, either to expand their dormitories, or even to come up with new ways of using fields. There is nothing. All of us are working from home. So even the teachers, the management, they are at home. So I don't know how we just want to leave home and then go to school as if things are normal, and yet this is not a normal situation. So for me, we are not prepared. I think we better use this 1 month to start preparing on how we want children to go to school, just like what other countries have done.
Now, Timothy, maybe it's the high time we ask you, when do you think it would be proper to reopen the schools?
To me, it depends. If the government can put in all their best, if we can pull all our resources the way we've put all our resources towards Corona and pull all the resources towards school, it is possible to open the schools within 1 month. Because all we need is just to be able to look at how we are going to keep our children safe, make sure that we come up with new ways like what other countries have done. They're making use of fields. some countries, because we know some classes, as Yegon said, some of them are 1,000 in a whole school. I know some schools, one class is 1,000 because from stream A up to B or A up to M, okay? So we are asking ourselves if we can just be able to expand our facilities. I know, like where I stay, there's a school which was being built. When we went in lockdown, they stopped building. I wish they could have put another floor, 2 floors on that school. Then when children come back, they'll be able to keep social distance, they'll be able to stay far from each other, they'll be able to have all the facilities required. Because most of these things which are required are not what you could call hardcore things. If you're talking about a washing place, if you're talking about sanitizers, there are things which are there. And actually, as we're talking about sanitizing hands, I think for the children, what some countries are doing, they're also even sanitizing the shoes. Because when children walk to the class, obviously they're able to step on each other or something like that. So we're not just talking about hand sanitizers, but also feet sanitizer or shoes sanitizers. And those are things which can be put. It's not something that will take forever. The only thing is that we have to invest. We have to stop asking when schools will open and start talking about, can we prepare our schools for opening?
We need to be prepared. We need to scale up capacity. You've highlighted a few issues. Now, we've seen gaps. COVID-19 has shown us glaring gaps within the education sector. And the disparity, especially between public schools and private schools. From where you sit, the situation about the reopening of schools, when we're having this debate, do we need to really look at, the different levels, public, private? We all sit under the same examinations.
Actually, we need to, because if you're talking about, if you talk about primary school children, we're talking about over 10 million children who are in primary school. But ask how many of them are in private schools. There are very few. And actually, I know the research that was done by Usawa, one of the organizations, it was showing that only, is it 19% or 29% of children are able to learn online or e-learning? So which means that about 90% or even 89% of children are actually not learning. So the disparities are very clear. If all these children are supposed to open at the same time and go to school and do the same exams, obviously that is discrimination, because we are talking about some who can be able to do e-learning, some who can at least access TV, a few who can access radio, and there are some marginalized who don't even access any of them. Can you imagine all these children opening at the same time, then going to sit for the same exam? Will not be fair to the children.
Now, since you've talked about technology, our participants who are drawn from different parts of the country there, kindly, if you're watching this broadcast and you're set to participate in our current survey, mute your television so that we can have better communication. So remain on standby. We're coming back to you. We want to hear your thoughts about the school reopening. Now, you've talked about the disparities, especially between the public and private. But now we also have another entity, and that is the issue of boarding school versus day scholars.
Actually, for the boarders, I think we need to do more for the boarding students, because imagine they'll have to travel distances and they'll be living together, they'll be sleeping together, they'll be learning together, and they'll be working together. But now, for those ones, actually, we need to do a lot. But for the day schools, they're also still exposed because they need to walk to school and walk back home.
You talked about exposure. How are we getting our children to school? Public transport is limited. And also, we have areas, hotspots that already we have cessation of movement.
Cessation, because actually, and that's why we cannot discuss about opening schools in absence of other issues. Because for you to open schools, children will have to travel to school. For you to open schools, parents have to prepare them. They have again to buy them new uniform. You had last time some of them saying they can't fit in their uniforms. It means uniform shops have to open. I know they are closed right now. I've seen quite a number of them, they are closed. So it's a whole process of ensuring that children going to school is not just asking them to go to school. It is a whole interrelated item that we need to look at it in totality. We cannot just open schools only, but say there's no transport. We can't open schools only and say the school shops are closed. It's not possible. So let us look at it in totality. And that's why I talked about this COVID issue. It's not just a security or a health issue. It's actually a development issue where all of us and all items that are required are supposed to be addressed so that we look at it in totality, children going to school. We look at it in totality, parents also getting prepared, because parents also have to do everything to get their children to school, and they have to prepare.
Now, we get back to Joy and Mercy to give us their feedback this morning. Joy, Mercy, how are you? Great to have you back. Kindly unmute your mic. Thank you. So Joy, Mercy. So Joy, raise your hand so that I can tell who's Joy. Great. Joy is in yellow. Mercy? Mercy? Great. So let's start with Joy. What do you think about the school reopening, or rather, should schools be reopened?
It's a good idea, but has the government has their children coming from different counties, schools to schools, and we have had some counties have high cases of COVID-19, and when they come and interact with other children, they might spread the disease to the other children which are not testing positive.
Joy, the issue of traveling from different counties to attend school and the issue of testing. What do you think about Mercy? What do you think about that, Mercy?
At some point, I agree that schools should reopen, but when the government takes safety measures, when the citizens take safety measures as they are told by our president, and also at some point I disagree, because this COVID-19, as we all know, it is invisible. So it is up to us to agree on what we can do best so that this COVID-19 cannot widely spread to other people. Yes.
Thank you very much, Joy and Vanessa there from Nakuru County. Now we go to Brian. Brian, who hails from Thika. Brian, good morning. Brian, if you can hear me, kindly unmute your mic. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning.
Great. What do you think about school reopening? Should the schools remain closed or open?
They should open. The schools should be open, because as some people we can't learn on our own.
You can't learn on your own. Are you concerned about the issue of coronavirus when you go back to school? Are you worried about COVID-19 when you go back to school? Okay, fine. We are having a problem network there with Brian, who is giving us feedback from Thika. And he says that schools need to be open because he cannot learn at home. Timothy, the issue of the home environment being a learning environment.
I know even for parents, even for children, it's not possible to learn at home. It is home. You have a bed there, you have a television, you have food in the fridge. It is difficult. Concentration is difficult. And we also we are used to teachers giving us instructions and marking our work so that you can feel you are moving to a particular place, learning new lessons. So trying to teach yourself, it is difficult. I know many children are really struggling. The number of them who are having those online classes, they are trying to do their level best, but it is not possible. Home is not the best place for learning.
You know, schools actually closed in the country March 15th, yes. And the closure term expires June 4th. Yeah. That's quite some duration there. Some of the proponents of the school reopening procedure happen to be the primary school heads who want the school annual calendar to be altered some sorts, and they have proposed that KCPE and KCSE examinations be postponed. What's your take?
We can't postpone the age of the children. That's just my worry. If you postpone, what happens to the children who are already in class 8 and Form 4? Do you tell them that now you'll not do an exam? And that we are just postponing a problem. Because my thinking from my view is that they should just be examined on what they did. It is possible to examine children on what they did because they will all be at the equal, rather than examining them on things they never learned. So to me, they have a point in what they are saying, but to me, the key thing is that can we consult the children also what they think and consult other stakeholders and look at the whole system of education, because education is a system. It's not a one-off thing. It doesn't mean that if you skip this exam, again next year will not skip. So for me, all I'm thinking, the main thing is preparation. what the ministry has failed to do, unless they have been doing and we don't know, is planning from the time Corona started. If we were planning right now, we'll be somewhere. Because this exam has to be set from somewhere, either in UK or wherever. Teachers have to be prepared. The practical exams actually start in May. They should have already started the agriculture and the other home science where they do the things. It is something which can be done, but to me, I'm thinking postponing an exam will only be giving more stress to children, especially the children who are prepared.
You are
for
of the
exams.
thought that postponing is not the direction to take.
It's not the direction.
As you've said, we don't hold that age.
We can't hold the age of the children.
But one would argue that COVID-19 is an issue of life and death, whereas an examination is just an examination. That's just a thought. Now, now as it is, before we get back to just listening to our viewers who happen to be children and already in the system, the issue of continuous assessment, CBC versus 844 system. The 844 system makes it, whenever you're transiting, a final assessment on your part.
Yeah.
Glaring, or rather, what now, when we look at now at the CBC that we've already started?
If we are using the CBC right now, we'll not be worried about the Class 8 and the Form 4 exams, because that is a continuous assessment. They'll still be continually be assessed and move to the next class automatically. But given that we are still in the 844 system, which is exam-oriented, and you have to pass, and you have to pass to go to the next level, until we do away with the children who are in the old system, we cannot wish them away. And neither can we change the whole system all of a sudden and say, now all children are in CBC. Because the KICD has got a process. There is a process on how they want to get CBC to come in, I think up to the year 2025 or something like that. Yeah.
True. Now, you've said the issue of postponement of these examinations, the ripple effect it would have down the chain. If Class 8 people does not sit for the KCSE, KCP, they cannot go to Form 1. What
so
happens to
it
them?
means there'll be no Form 1 next year? Then there'll be no people joining university next year? What does that mean?
A whole total disruption.
Then it means now the following year you'll have double intake of Form 1s, where will they go? Double intake of university, where will they go?
Just looking at the other classes, other classes, like especially in the 844 system, a Class 6 student would not be willing to repeat Class 6, you know, and we are going to have a stagnation of sorts.
Yeah.
What do you think, what ripple effect would you think will have, or rather impact in overall when we put a gap, or rather, you know, it's just putting like a gap, you know, when you postpone, it's a gap. You're holding things back. How will this now affect, you know, the social dynamics, social development of these children?
I think the whole country will be affected, but to me, the biggest people will be affected will be the children. Because psychologically, children are prepared to move to the next class. Psychologically, they want to see some progress. And so we might end up having a lot of psychosocial problems with children. Some children feeling as if they are not worth it. Some children resorting into even committing suicide. Some actually just leaving school and entering into labor market, because it's actually affecting them. And the thing is, they'll blame us because it's the system. A system has to be a moving system. It cannot be a stagnant system. And that's why I'm saying the thinking through should have started, and we should keep on thinking so that we get everything moving, because the whole society has to move. We can't stop. I don't think we stopped eating because there's Corona.
We didn't.
We didn't stop eating. We didn't stop doing our normal chores. We didn't stop farming because there's Corona. Somehow we found a way. We didn't stop meeting. We found a different way of meeting. Like right now, what we are doing with the children, like the Day of the African Child celebration is coming up in June for children. We will celebrate that day, but in a different way. We will not postpone it because we cannot have children together.
We are doing things differently.
We are doing things differently, and we just need to do. We cannot stop doing. Because
now, we're getting feedback, team, and just to sample one on our Facebook page, that is Jean Kinwa, says, we may put all the necessary measures, including having the candidates only, so that social distance is observed and resources, including water, are enough to have them in a safer environment. They continue to say that they are non-teaching staff who go home, therefore increasing the chances of contracting the virus and infecting the students. These measures look great on paper. In actual fact though, one wrong turn when schools reopen during the crisis, we could be staring at a disaster of biblical proportions. Hashtag stay at home, Hashtag stay safe, hashtag sanitize, and there's a hashtag there, Ray. Thank you very much, Jean Kinwa, who's been responding to our question on Facebook and social media. In essence, we're asking you, do you think the time is right to reopen school? The closure, or rather the closure of schools comes to an end on June 4th. This is just barely a week away. So we are just trying to find out what you think about this and the developments therein. Thank you very much, Jean Kinwa. Continue giving us your feedback. This conversation goes on. We even have children from different parts of the country participating, just giving their view in regard to that. The issue, the risk of exposure team. Risk of exposure, especially for the teaching and non-teaching staff. For instance, we reopen the schools, accommodate the candidates in a boarding school. What happens to the gateman? What happens to the cook? What happens to the people who work in that school?
You know, it's again, the whole issue is planning, and the whole issue is being aware of the impact of COVID to the whole society. It's not only the children only. The children might be prepared, but how is the whole society prepared? Let me give you an example. Last week, there's a funeral somewhere in my community where they love funerals. And when the policemen were trying to keep people away from the funerals, the old ladies were asking, why are they chasing people in the morning and corona comes in the evening? You know, according to them, corona only comes in the evening. It doesn't come in the morning. So in such a community, and that's why we're saying everybody needs to be aware of the impact of corona. And the whole issue of preparing is not just only being safe at school, but also being safe at home. And that's why the whole issue is a whole chain, that even the gateman has to know that he has to be safe. He has to have a mask and he has to sanitize. Even the cooks, they have to know that they have to be safe. And that's why even if some schools decide that the cooks should live in school, so be it, so that they can also be confined in school, and every time they come in, their temperatures are taken. Every time they come in, they have to get a coronavirus test to confirm that they're actually okay before they even start making the food. And that's why I'm saying it's a whole societal thing. It's not only about children, but it's about the whole society.
Now, in a story that has been captured in one of the dailies this morning is that another group of parents has gone to court, you know, to demand a reduction in school fees by a certain school. That issue of, should I continue paying school fees, yet my children are at home, though we are receiving this homework on WhatsApp, you know, is it, I mean, how do we understand that? How do we put it?
Actually, I really don't know. I know, especially for the schools that rely on school fees to pay their teachers and to pay themselves, it's a challenge. But this challenge is affecting the whole country. I don't think there are people who are not affected. The same way our president has asked landlords to reduce the rent or even to waive the rent, it's the same thing the parents should. Even if you are giving work online, I know there's a cost for you to post that work online or on Zoom or the rest of the things. But you cannot really ask the same school fees that you've been paying, because you pay school fees and children go to school. So I think the owners of the schools also have to be a bit lenient to Kenyans. Everybody is suffering. It doesn't mean that right now parents are making some money which they can pay school fees. And nobody is saying the parents should not pay school fees. But all we are saying, we just need to be reasonable, and we need to work as a society so that if the children are at home, because if they were in school, they'll be eating food, they'll be using the classroom, you'll be paying the transport. It's a whole system. So it doesn't, you cannot just wake up and say that now let me ask all the parents to pay the money they should be paying so that we can get salaries. There's a salary cut everywhere, and I think even the school should also practice the same.
Talking about salary cuts, Tim, teachers in the private sector have been home.
It's true.
And some are not earning.
That's true.
They are parents.
It's true.
At the end of the day. Yeah. So we need to get a solution.
It is true. It's not only just only teachers, because apart from the essential services, the rest of everybody has been at home. Very few people are going to work. Maybe the media houses you've been working. Like even in our organization, we work only half day or we work only on some days just to make sure that we are moving. It's affecting everybody. And that's why where the government comes in and say, what can the government do? Because one thing why we are citizens of Kenya, why if you try to hang yourself right now, you'll be taken to court, is because the government wants you to provide labor, because you have to labor for the country and also to pay the taxes. So we are property of the government. That's why we turn back to the government again and say, we are the property of the government. What can the government do to cushion us? Yes, they have reduced VAT to 14%. oh yes, there are a few things which have gone, but it has gone down, but still the price of things have gone high. Life has somehow to come down so that it can cushion Kenyans to be able to move to the next level. But my idea is that even if you're a teacher in a private school, don't just sit at home. Can you make yourself a bit useful? Even for these private schools, there's a way, some teachers are setting exams, others are doing nothing. So what are we trying to do? My idea is that let everybody try to do the level, work in a different way, but still achieve some aim, rather than sitting at home because I've been asked to sit at home, then say I want a salary.
Good point. Now, that is a debate that has been going on, and especially for parents saying they're not willing to pay that school fees because the children are at home. These assignments that we get, we do not know, times have changed. It's been over 10 plus years. Last time you're in a classroom, so you're not adequately prepared to teach your child. Now, just looking at feedback that we're getting on our social media platforms, is someone called Michael Olwen. He says there's no way we expect numbers to go down without Dawa. How? That is in regard to opening schools. Now, someone continues, Gadoni Kingori says, school reopenings is a trap. No sooner had France opened schools than they have started seeing a spike in infections. Now, Elias Ndongo, the earlier the people are prepared to live with it, as scientists are searching for a vaccine, the better. COVID-19 cases in Africa are mostly mild. People should just embrace social distance, sanitizing, and good hygiene practices, and the virus will die a natural death. Jemima Oluteo continues to say, e-learning is the way forward. Then someone there giving a very, hilarious comment says, ile mitishamba ya Madagascar kuliendaje. Yeah, just continue giving us feedback this morning. We are asking, joining the debate. Should schools reopen? The closure of the school terminates, or rather that particular directive terminates on June 4th. Between now and then, we're having that conversation. Should we reopen the schools? Is the time right? Do you feel your child is safe? Get tweeting at my Twitter handle is at Ray Manyara, at KBC Channel 1 News on Twitter, and on Facebook at KBC Channel 1 TV. Give us your feedback. Now, team there, issues have been highlighted. What lessons can we learn from other countries that have already started gradual reopening of the schools? Case in point there from one of our viewers, the issue of France.
Actually, the viewer always talked about France. France, they opened up school to the lower grades, 150,000 students. And the time they were opening up, they had cases of, they had corona cases of 180,000 cases with about 22,000 deaths. And when they opened schools, actually they're saying that 70 children contracted coronavirus, 70 out of 150. So 150,000. So you can see. The thing is, they were actually testing out, and somehow it is working, because if there are only 70 children who have contracted corona, that can be managed. Okay. We're also saying the other countries who have already opened the schools, Denmark, even South Africa, they are considering, they are close to us here. Taiwan only closed schools for 2 weeks and opened schools in February. And one thing with Taiwan is that wearing a mask is compulsory. For children, for adults, wherever they are going, is compulsory. And Taiwan only had 439 cases of COVID, and with 6 deaths. And the schools are going on as normal. So, Sweden actually, they also behaved like Tanzania. They did not listen to WHO.
Yes, they said we will get the immunity
as we go. They are saying the children don't contract it so much. It's only the older people, and the older persons are the ones who contract it. Norway opened their schools on the 27th of April. Yeah. And, but what they are doing is that they're having a maximum of 15 children per class. Maximum 15 children per class.
Issue of social population and vis-a-vis facilities. Yeah. So we need to scale up.
Yeah, we know most of these countries, actually, their population is old. It's not the young population like Kenya. So they have fewer students there. China, they also opened. They opened up their schools to children. And what they have done, they have come up with quite a number of things. Like, for example, taking temperature is a must for children. Then they also have these big masks that they put on, which is like 3 meters, so that children cannot move close to each other. If you have that mask, even if it will prevent you from reaching the other child, So they have come up with several things. Then they have also made sure that even in some places in China, they're having children going with their own personal thermometers to take their temperatures twice a day. They're also using technology, where they're actually getting, there's a questionnaire that children fill when they're coming in. that will show whether they are likely to get coronavirus or not.
Just
Can you
to
imagine?
look at their rate of it.
Yeah.
So we are far from being safe or considering it safe to open our schools. That's what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah.
Now we continue sampling feedback on our social media platforms. Caroline Mwangi says, I said the same thing. This was on the issue of school reopening, that the schools need to remain closed. Wacha wakae home till next year. That is Caroline Mwangi. Then Pris Pas Mutunga says, till September, ndio zitafunguliwa. We have our kids home and we thank God they are safe. Someone below there continues to say, volume, pandisha du kidogo, up. I think this is supporting what Mutunga has said there, that our children are home and they're safe and we thank God. Let's talk about September. Yeah. So keep tweeting, keep SMS, keep tweeting, send us feedback. My social media handle on Twitter is at Ray Manyara. You can also find me under Ray Manyara on Facebook too. Our official station handle is at KBC Channel 1 TV on Twitter, and we are streaming live. So get on board. Let's have those conversations, especially about the issue of reopening. Are we ready to reopen schools, and what exactly this would mean? Now, we've looked at the glaring disparities that we have between public facilities and private facilities. What lessons can we learn going forward, especially now in the issue of in the era of e-learning?
Actually, e-learning is the way to go. It's been, when the Jubilee government came up with the laptop program, it was a very good thing. And I wish we'll have embraced it and used it. I don't know where they disappeared somewhere on the way. But e-learning is the way to go, because with e-learning, children can always learn, even if they're in school or in a place where they can be in the field and be able to learn. Like what other countries have done, they're even having open learning, just sitting in the field. So e-learning is the way to go, whether we like it or not. All of us right now, for us to hold meetings, we are doing it. And it again is not only for the children, it's actually even for even us adults. People are now holding meetings online. People are now making decisions online. So children can also learn online. And that's the way to go for this country. We need electricity everywhere. We need those laptops everywhere, even in marginalized areas. So that, because my problem, as people say that we are happy with the children sitting at home, my question I keep on asking, what are they doing at home? What are they learning at home? Because children don't stop learning because they are not going to school. They are learning some things. We've also had crazy cases of what's happening at home. And I don't know why some parents are not talking about it. How many children have gotten pregnant during this time?
Yes.
How many children have faced violence and abuse? There are many cases happening at home also.
The rate of exposure is also high at home. But remember that Brian says that he wants schools open because he cannot study at home.
He said so. That's what the children themselves saying, because people are talking they have already through the classes, but now the ones who are still in class are saying we can't learn at home. And we are saying let us stay at home.
They're being honest.
They're being honest with
Cartoon Network, Netflix, and everything else. How about we continue hearing from you, Musa? Moses, good morning.
My name is Moses Okemwa from Machakos County.
Good to see you. What do you think about the issue or the debate about school reopening?
Well, I loved too when the schools could open in September, because it will be convenient, because schools were used as quarantine centers and we don't know the people who are in those schools. So the government should properly fumigate all the before we back. And when we are at school, that teachers and students should be thoroughly checked if they may have traces of the COVID-19 for the safety of everyone.
Pupils and teachers to be equally tested, schools that were used as quarantine centers to be fumigated to ensure that that's a safe environment. But other than that, do you think that pupils and students can maintain social distancing within the school compound?
To be sincere, it's not possible, but we can try our best. Maybe when we have our own sanitizers, we have hand wash. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Moses. They are being very sincere. He said it, and I will borrow what Vanessa said. It's going to be tricky. Social distancing is going to be tricky. That we are continue hearing from various students across the country. We have Mike.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So tell us how old you are. Oh, and you have someone there with you. Maybe she can also say
Yeah,
hi.
she's my sister. She can introduce herself.
Yeah, let her introduce herself.
My name is Veronica. I'm from Nakuru County, and I'm 10 years old.
Thank you very much, Veronica. And that is Mike. Mike, how old are you?
I'm 16 years.
Okay, 16 years. How about we do ladies first and we talk to Veronica there. Veronica, who happens to be 10 years old. What do you think about going back to school?
I think school should be open next week on Monday.
Or you think schools should be opened? Why?
Because I miss my friends. I miss
social distance. I miss my friends.
Ah, okay. And now that you miss your friends, there's something called about, or something what you're talking about, the issue of social distancing. Now that you miss your friends, do you think you'll be able not to hug them or talk to them? You can see you're already squeezed there with Mike, who happens to be your brother, but that's within the same home setup. I mean, your friends, you miss them. Will you be able to keep distance from them?
Yes.
Well, Veronica there says this is going to keep distance. Now, Mike, over to you. What do you think about going back to school?
Actually, I think school should be opened early July because we are approaching June and we are not yet prepared. As we can see, the government hasn't give us the latest information on what we are going to do. But early July, it's okay because actually we are missing a lot. Yeah.
Ah. Hey, my friend, we are missing a lot. You're almost coming into the set. I enjoy your energy is profound. Thank you very much. It's in the morning. Now, Whitney, we also want you to have the same kind of energy that we're seeing with Mike there. Hold up. We are coming up to you after we are done with Mike and Veronica there. Just have your phone or the gadget that you're using, hold it at landscape. Now, Mike there, we've heard that you've said you're missing a lot. Maybe you can just tell us the school that you attend and at which form. You're in form?
Actually, I'm in Form 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
I
study at Langa.
You study at?
Langa Secondary School.
Langa Secondary School, Nakuru County. That is Nakuru County represented this morning. Thank you very much, Mike and Veronica there. So, Whitney, kindly hold up your gadget on landscape so that we can be able to see. We get to see you properly. Mike there, team says that he's missing a lot and he's almost coming onto the screen to insist. He's like, we're missing a lot, and he's okay with July. Exactly. We've also heard there from Moses, who says that it is okay if schools open in September.
But there's a point Mike said.
And teachers and pupils to be tested also.
Yeah. There's a point Mike said that we are not being told what's happening.
Yeah.
Who is speaking to the children? Is the government speaking to the children and telling them what's happening?
So the children require the information. Now, good morning, Whitney.
Good morning.
How are you? We see you. How are you this morning?
I'm fine.
Great. What do you think? Do you want to go back to school or not?
I want to go back to school.
I mean, why? Why do you want to go? Are you tired of staying home? Why do you want to go back to school?
Because it is hard to study alone with interruptions of TV and work.
Interruptions of TV and work. Now, before we discuss about the interruptions of work, kindly mute your television so that we can hear you properly. Mute the television. Good. Now, just explain when you say interruptions of work at home. And begin by telling us how old you are and the school that you attend.
I'm 11 years old and I study in Ganjoni Primary School.
Good. So tell me about the issue of in work interruptions that make you want to go back to school.
I wash the dishes, do house chores.
Yeah, and in school you do not do any of that. And
yes.
And when you're in school, you do not. Is it a day school or is it a boarding school? Are you in Which one are you?
A day school.
Oh, it's a day school. So the
Yes.
issue of washing dishes is what is making you want to go back to school.
Yes.
Then when you go back to school, do you think you'll be able to maintain social distancing, maintain a high hygiene?
I don't think so.
And but you still want to go back to school. So what do you think the government needs to do in light of the current situation of COVID-19 to make sure that you go back to school, meet your friends, and run away from washing dishes?
They should put some marks so that people may not go on, like the PP's children are always, they don't even understand the meaning of social distance.
Good. That's a problem. The children do not understand the meaning of social distance. Thank you very much, Whitney, there. Washing the dishes is not work. That is a chore that you have to learn.
It's child work. It's not child labor.
It's not child labor. You'll survive it. We did it ourselves and we're here. We've lived. It's a testimony. Now, Roy, kindly unmute your mic so that we can get to have a conversation with you. Unmute. Fine. Good morning, Roy. How are you?
Good morning. Hi. Fine.
I'm good myself. Just tell us, which school do you attend and how old are you?
Okay, my name is Roy Emmanuel. I'm 17 years old from Shimolatoa School in Mombasa.
Very well. Thank you for coming on board this morning. So we're talking about the issues of, going back to school. A couple of your colleagues here have said they want to go back to school because first, they're missing a lot in school. Secondly, is that they miss their colleagues in school and they're running away from house chores. What's your take? Do you want to go back to school, and why do you want to go back to school or not?
Okay, in my perspective, I don't think school should reopen now because it is a bit risky right now because we are still recording high numbers of cases coronas in Kenya. So if you are to go to school right now, to observe those social distance, it will be very difficult. Like in my school, we are about 1,500 boys. So in that capacity, like a dorm we share 250. To maintain social distance, it will be very difficult. But I think life is more precious than school and exam. We can retake classes, we can retake exams, but life, we cannot retake life. So I think school should not reopen.
So are you saying you are comfortable repeating a class? I want to hear that loud and clear.
Yes, that is yes, because I don't want to risk my life. If losing a life and retaining a class, which one is better? I rather take a class than lose my life to coronavirus.
Hey, very pragmatic there. You prefer life, you can do another year.
Yes.
If you are in Form 4 right now, would you still be open to doing another 1 year, knowing that you going back, rather staying in school for 1 more year would mean you don't get to college or university? Would that have changed?
Okay, in that perspective, I think I'll rather go to school because time is going.
Thank you very much for being very honest. So if you're a candidate, you'd say, I need to do my exam so that I can go to university. But for right now, you choose life. Now we go back to Nakuru County with Francis and Malachi. Good morning, Francis and Malachi. How are you? Great. Let's wave. That's a tripartite. That's a tripartite setup. Oh, thanks. There's someone right there in between you two guys, in the middle.
No name.
And we.
Your brother.
That's your brother. How old is he? Maybe he can introduce himself.
My name is Rosaria Nganga. I'm 5 years old. My school is St. Anthony Nursery School.
Oh, our youngest participant yet at aged 5 years. You had to squeeze in right in the middle there of their brothers. Good. Now, between Francis and Malachi, who is Francis, who is Malachi? Let's start. Francis, you say present, raise your hand. Francis? Thank you. In blue, Malachi?
Present.
Great. Good. Now, let's start with Francis. Do you want to go back to school?
My name is Francis Geshohe, age 13 years. I'm in standard 7. I school at St. Anthony Primary School. I'm a member of Hyrax Hill Creativity Club in Nakuru County. And to the question you've just posed, I would like schools to reopen because in as much as staying at home has become the new norm, it's becoming overwhelming for us as students. We are missing a lot, and school we get the time to play and socialize with friends and interact with people.
So in school you get time to play. At home, you'll answer my question. Now, Malachi, over to you. Do you think schools should be open?
I'm Malachi Gatonga, 16 years, from 3 Jomo Kenyatta Boys High School in Nakuru County. For me, I think schools should reopen come early September, only when the government has ensured that it has contained the virus to a manageable point and ensured the safety of learners so that they can embark on their studies.
Very well said. Now back to you, Francis. You said that the reason you would want to go back to school is that you have missed a lot, and also in school you get time to play. Does that mean you don't get time to play when you're home right now?
Okay, at home, yes, I get time to play at home, but at home I do a lot of studies, so at home I don't really play a lot at home.
Thank you very much. That is Malachi and Nganga there, as well as Francis, brothers there. Now let's go to Natalie.
Sure.
Natalie from Muranga. What's your take? Natalie?
My name is Natalia Wanjiro.
Good.
I'm 9 years old and I go to St. Anthony's School. I think schools should reopen because most people have missed a lot. Not many people are doing online classes, and it would be better. It would be best if the government, because the president has introduced 5G for example, the Form 1s who are in school, like if they're in a school of 2,000 people, the people who can do online learning can learn online, and some who don't do can go to school. Thank you.
I want you to repeat how old you are. How old are you, Natalia?
I'm 10.
Good. That's 10-year-old Natalia saying that we need to embrace e-learning. Now let's go to let's go to Ruth Oguna in Mombasa. Ruth, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm great myself. What do you think? Should schools reopen or not?
I think schools should reopen on a basis that you're going to be taken care of as children. We need to go back to school and catch up with our education, because not everyone is doing e-learning. There are people who are less fortunate, and I thank God that I'm fortunate enough to do all of this. There are people who can't do this. There are people who are not able to do this. And going back to school, we need to socialize with others, and we need to do much.
Thank you very much, Ruth. There, schools need to reopen, but under guidelines and the state of preparedness to ensure that you continue learning, saying that you are also benefiting from e-learning. Now, still in Mombasa, we have Richard. Good morning, Richard. How are you?
I'm fine.
Great. What is your take about the school reopening?
Actually, I think that schools should not open yet. I think they should consider to open the schools in September, because right now it's not safe for students, for learners to go to school. We know that some schools have been used as centers of refuge to people who have been having problems with the long rains. So we don't know if these schools are safe, but they should fumigate so that you can go back to school.
School environment is not safe per se, so for you want to stay home until things go better. Now let's cross over to Nuru Waithaka. Nuru Waithaka from Nairobi.
Yes,
Nuru, good morning. How are you? What do you think about the school reopening?
I think that the government should think this through very, very carefully, because we know better to be safe than sorry. As we all know, now we have the curfew in place, and inter-county travel is limited. So we know that if we open schools, these things have to be lifted so that students are able to travel to reach their various schools.
So
And with
which
this,
school?
some people who
Sorry,
are not
Nuru, let me cut you
involved,
short. Tell us which school you attend and which form or which class are you in?
I attend Kiambu High School and I'm in Form 4.
Great. Now, as a candidate, Form 4 candidate there, what do you think? There have been proposal that we postpone the exams, yes, and actually alter the calendar. That means that you might have to retake Form 4 again. What's your take?
Yes.
Are you okay with redoing your exam?
Yes, because you see, my former speaker had said there that better to save his life than risk it going back to school. I would say the same, because your life can last longer than an exam. So if you risk it, you're risking a big issue. But if you risk exams, it's something you can take again. And I treasure my life so much.
Hallelujah, amen. We treasure your life too. Thank you very much for coming on board. That's a Form 4 candidate there, Nuru Waithaka from Nairobi County, saying that he would rather take his chances at home, wait until we have a solution to go back to school. How about we hear from one of, a teacher by profession, just to give us an insight into this issue in this debate regarding going back to school. Dan Olo, Mombasa, from Mombasa County, who is the NAT Secretary Kilindini. Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Dan. We can see you, but can we hear you? Dan, well, as you continue working on your sound there, just as we recap, team, let's try and recap what we've heard from the children. And if you were trying to do a tally, you find that the girls want to go back to school,
and the boys,
with the exception of, a few, especially, they're saying, let's stay home until the situation is rectified. In closing, what do you have to say about it?
Actually, there is a midline, and I like what Natalie said.
Yes.
She's even offering a solution.
Yes.
That can we have those who can learn online, and the ones who can't completely go to school. Yeah. So for me, when I look at that, I'm like, obviously the boys are raising very important points about saying, let us be safe. We'd rather be safe than sorry. Actually, the whole point is about planning. They are saying, are we prepared? That's the question they're asking us adults and even the managers of education. Can you prepare the school so that we don't die? They are not saying we don't want to go to school. They're simply saying we want to go to school when it is safe.
We want to go back to school when it is safe.
Yes.
How about we hear from Ben Mushiri? What is your take? Mushiri? How are you? How are you? Mushiri, how are you? Your shot there is sinking, but I hope we can hear you. So good morning. What do you think about school reopening? Should schools be reopened or not? Unmute your mic, Mushiri, please. Unmute your mic.
We're not hearing.
Fine. We were asking, or rather I'm asking, what do you think about the school reopening? Should it be opened or not? Mushiri?
It should reopen.
Why do you think it should be? Why do you want it reopened?
Because there are people who don't access to online learning.
So there are people who are not accessing online, and we are having even you'll have to put off your television there or put it on mute because we are having some interference. We've said that the issue that the solution is lying on maybe embracing e-learning team.
Exactly, e-learning is something we need to embrace, and the children are giving us solutions. Some of these solutions we struggle with them, but if we ask the children, they'll have a solution to us. E-learning is a must for us for this country. We cannot do without it. it will help us even keep the social distance, but we're also saying it can also help depopulate some of the schools that are many. There's a time when we wanted everybody to go to school, and it's a very good thing.
Yeah. Now, as we come to a close, or rather bring this conversation to a close, we want to hear from our teacher by profession, that is Dan Olo, who we're trying to get. He's from Mombasa. So good morning, Dan. How are you?
Morning to you. Hello? Hello?
There's something amiss in as far as your sound is concerned.
Hello, hello.
Yes, we can hear you now, Dan.
You can hear me?
Yes, we can.
First and foremost, Grace, I want to congratulate you and Timothy. You're doing a wonderful thing, and you're making us Kenyan proud.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, what do you think about this debate about having our schools reopen? The directive to have it closed is coming to, or rather ends on June 4th. So we want to know, what is your take?
Hello?
What is your take about the school reopening debate?
Hello, Grace. What is not happening?
Good question there from our teacher there, Dan Olo from Mombasa County, who is a NAT secretary from Kilindini.